to what it is like to run and win in a tough swing state that really could go either way, and has really taken her time to show us how that can be done. She has also been a mentor with Emily's List and other folks supporting other women candidates like Congresswoman DeGette has, that are running for federal office and helping break down many of those barriers as well. For those of us who watched the debates, Senator Klobochur, I have to say I appreciate your sense of humor. We don't have enough humor in this. I think humor breaks through a lot of the crazy noise that we've got going on. But I just feel like you've had such a great way to say it like you see it, and really just call the moment in that we're at right now. We're lucky to have you in the U.S. Senate, and I hope we can bring you a brand new majority. No more Mitch McConnell. And let's see some of these amazing bills get done if we do our part in Colorado to defeat Cory Gardner and get you a majority. So without further ado, I think we all know and recognize her from a presidential run, but our senator from the state of Minnesota since 2007. Thank you for joining us, Senator Amy Klobochur.
Well, thank you, Morgan. And thank you, Ed Pulmetter, for clapping. Thank you. I see that. I can't hear you, but, makes me feel good. Diana, it's so great to see you. And I loved hearing your remarks there at the end. What an important job you have right now, both of you, as well as the work that your governor is doing, and standing up to a lot of crap in order to show the kind of leadership that we're not seeing out in Washington, D.C. We're, of course, incredibly grateful for Michael's work. We're good friends, as you know, and want him to have someone that actually can join him in doing good work and helping Joe Biden. And that, of course, is is Governor Hickenlooper. And I've been excited to do a number of events with him. I also want to mention your other reps there with Joe and with Jason. And I also wanted to do a big shout out to Jenna, your incredible Secretary of State, who I have gotten to know. She's way ahead of her time when it comes to voting. You should be really proud of her. I've featured her at some national events because I was so impressed by her work. So you should be proud of her too. So yes, this is, by the way, I love that you guys are trying to get in the spirit. I noticed Sheila's background. Very nice. She's got I noticed that hat, the donkey hat. Don't worry. I see that. It's a little frightening, but that looks good as well. The masks, very good. The message masks are very cool. And Manny, thanks for putting your newspaper down. That made me feel good. He was reading the news, not during your speech, Diana. It was in between. So I actually is sort of like try to follow all of you as I'm giving these speeches and pretend we're all there together. And I guess I'd start with that. You all know this is a convention like no other. Okay. Oh, and that's a pretty good hat too you got there. We like to wear funny hats. We like to dance at these conventions. We like the music. And so we are all going to just have to adjust and find a way to have fun with this. And I think we will, because I want you to think of the advantages. First of all, this is going to be a made for TV event, right? We're going to use videos more and use more high technology instead of everyone just standing at one podium, right? Saying the same thing with maybe different backgrounds before them. We're going to be able to meet people where they are and hear them in our state. And in that way, their states, it's more welcoming. Not everyone can get on a plane as we traditionally did, or get in a car and go to the conventions. As much as I have the fondest memories of the Colorado convention that I will never forget, that first convention with Barack Obama, I had so much fun. We know we can create our own fun. And so I was trying to make myself feel a little better about it. So yesterday they sent me these in the mail. Yay, you can have signs. Yay. So high tech. Or how about this? Reversible signs. Dr. Biden. Yay. You can have message signs. Here's one of my favorite ones. Tweet less, listen more. There you go. You can get them, make your own. Or if you really want to show solidarity with our candidate, yes, aviator glasses. You can put those on And right now you're wishing I took them off. But I can't hear you, so I don't know that. All right. So just a few examples. You can be creative on your own. But I think that despite all that, we know the stakes couldn't be higher. Diana just went through it with the elections, and Nancy Pelosi and Diana and the crew out in Washington on the Democratic side are showing true leadership. Mitch McConnell, is he calling us back? Of course not. Is Donald Trump trying to do anything about putting his own crony in charge of the post office? No. I literally woke up this morning, and I know you've heard these stories. It's not just ballots. I had a Republican small businessman say, I can't pay my contractors. They're not getting the checks. I mailed them 2 weeks ago. They're all calling, yelling at me. Farmers are not able to send invoices out. All of this happened because Donald Trump doesn't believe in government. He doesn't believe in getting things done. And I think it's in a state like Colorado, which I can relate to a lot with Minnesota, where at least you guys gave a pretty good victory to Hillary. We had an incredibly close election in 2016. And our independent voters and our rural voters do not like what's happening. They don't like what's happening to our rural hospitals, what's happening with the childcare deserts out there. And we have a really strong case to make in both of our states for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as a ticket. The other thing that we believe in Colorado and Minnesota is people basically taking charge. That's why you've had these strong Democratic statewide officials. They believe in people that are willing to make decisions and take responsibility for things. What do we got in Donald Trump? He blames everyone. He still is doing it. He just recently blamed testing for the reason that we have seen testing increase in coronavirus cases, not his own policies. He blames Barack Obama, when we all know it was Obama that got us out of that downturn, as well as all the hard workers across this country. Some of my favorites from the past, he blamed the entire kingdom of Denmark at one point. My favorite one of all time, he blamed the Prime Minister of Canada for shutting him, Donald Trump, out of the Canadian version of Home Alone 2. That is a true story. You can Google it. That happened. It is like that old phrase, the buck stops here. He should have a sign for his desk. The buck stops anywhere but here. So I think that idea of individual responsibility is really missing in that president. And it's something that's incredibly appealing to some of the independents and moderate Republicans, as well as, of course, Democrats in our states as we approach this general election. The second thing is to remember, in really the other side of that is the competence that Joe Biden will bring to this, the competence of having worked side by side with President Obama, who you've seen that video of the two of them together. Barack Obama leaned on him. He leaned on him for his competence, yes, and his expertise, but also for his heart and his decency, and someone that he could actually trust in a town where, as Ed knows, they say, if you want a friend in Washington, get a dog, right? So the point of it is that Joe Biden was someone that Barack Obama could trust, and they were able to work together to get us out of the downturn, and they were able to work together when Ebola came to be and effectively manage that crisis as well. Then you have the other flip side of the coin, which is the compassion. When I began my campaign, which was all set up just to impress Colorado with the blizzard that I was in, my presidential campaign with the 4 inches of snow on my head, with the fact that my speech, as I would read down, the snow was accumulating in almost like not a Minnesota way, but a Colorado way, so quickly that I couldn't see the second half of the page and I'd have to wipe it away. Well, that was a moment of great joy. But not many people, when they end their campaign, is a moment of great joy unless they win. But for me, it was. I was in Dallas standing with Joe Biden, and it was just, I'll never forget it. And I said what I meant, that I couldn't think of a better way to end my campaign than to endorse his. And I told a story that hot night in Dallas about Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and that he was this beloved president, of course, came in when we were in the midst of the Great Depression, where people had completely lost trust in their government, had lost trust in the very institutions that they had depended on so long. He comes in with a bunch of new ideas, right? with all the work that he did on Social Security. Frances Perkins was a labor secretary. By the way, there's a very cool documentary I just watched on her. Thank you, Owen Perkins. Yeah, that's I know. That's why I saw your name and I added Frances Perkins to my speech because I saw your name. That's called winging it. And unemployment and all of the things that they did. And so much of it in the first 100 days is what we expect of Joe Biden here. But we also know that to get that done, you got the competence in the cabinet and the ideas, but you also have to have the heart. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt comes in and does all that. He serves our nation so well. And decades or so later, when he dies, he is so beloved in the country that they put his body on a train and the train goes through America. And there's a story of this regular guy that was just standing by the train tracks, holding his hat in his hands. And the reporter says to him, "Sir, did you know President Roosevelt? Is that why you're here?" And the guy says, "No, I didn't know the president, but he knew me. He knew me." And you know, Colorado delegates, that is where Joe Biden is. He knows you. So if you're someone that can't figure out how your kids are going to learn in the fall because the school's open and closed because of this virus that's out of control and there's no testing, he knows you. And if you're someone that can't afford medication because we have not in any way finished the work that we need to do when it comes to healthcare, he knows you. And if you are someone like me that had to go visit my dad who's in assisted living, who's in his Alzheimer's ward at age 92, he gets coronavirus, and I'm standing outside with our family of a window and our voices are piped in on an open cell phone, and he knows who we are, but he cannot figure out why we're standing out there in masks and what is going on, and he looks so small in that room, and I think this is going to be the last time I ever see him. Joe Biden knows you. And my dad made it through that. He made it through, unlike my husband who ends up hospitalized with low oxygen and pneumonia, my dad got through it okay. But there are so many families that know my story and so many seniors right now who want to be with their grandkids or see their loved ones or give someone a hug and they can't do it. Joe Biden knows you. And so that piece of it is just going to be impossible to explain in terms of facts and numbers. But that piece of it is probably best reflected when a president, and I took this personally, is asked on TV, Donald Trump, when he is asked, well, what about at that time, the 157,000 Americans that have died? What did he say? He says, it is what it is. It is what it is. So that is why we can't forget that element of heart. On one side, we've got a president that's willing to work on justice reform and the memory of George Floyd, who tragically was murdered in my state. And on the other side of the flip screen, you've got a president that took the Bible and used it as a prop and stood in front of that historic church, not heeding the words in that Bible to act justly. On one side of the screen, you've got those voters in Wisconsin who are standing in line, unable to mail in their ballots like you can do in Colorado, standing in the rain in garbage bags, so many of them African-American, and homemade masks. 70 of them got coronavirus just by trying to vote. On the other side of the screen, you got Donald Trump voting in the luxury of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue with his mail-in ballot that he got from Palm Beach, Florida, sitting there in that White House in his slippers. I don't know if he had slippers. I just added that because I pictured it, but got carried away. But that is what you see on the other side of the screen. So that's what this election is about. That's why Diana and Ed are going back to Washington to do God's work. And that's why we are pushing so hard to win for John Hickenlooper so that we can make sure that we send Mitch McConnell packing and that we no longer have to have a guy that stops everything we're trying to do when it comes to immigration reform and climate change and policing reform and something that struck at the heart of Colorado, gun safety. All of these things are on the ballot. And just the last thing I want to say is just a few words about Kamala Harris, my friend. Kamala and I and Joe Biden all ran against each other, if you didn't notice. We were all up there on the debate stage. And sometimes campaigns can move people farther apart, but sometimes things bring you together. And so many of us got closer. And Kamala and I got to be such good friends. The night before Thanksgiving, our families, we actually hung out together. And I can tell you, she has the experience to do this job. When Biden gets in there, they're going to have a crisis, right, to deal with. She'll not only help him with Congress, but she's been on the Intelligence Committee. She'll help with foreign relations. She has good relations with people in Washington. I think all that's going to help. But then she also has the empathy and the joy to do this job. And I can say this because I come from the state of two great vice presidents, Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale. The joke is Minnesota is that moms bounce their new babies on their knees and say, one day you can grow up to be vice president. And she has that joy, and you're going to be able to see that on display. I think you saw it with the launch. And last thing I'll say about it, when she gets up on that stage and we are exciting, carrying our signs and wearing our hats back at home, when she steps on that stage, she's going to make clear to every little girl in America, and really every little boy as well, that anything and everything is possible. That an Asian American woman, African American woman can stand up on that stage and accept the nomination for Vice President of the United States. So that's going to be a moment. And that's the kind of excitement that this ticket is going to bring out nationally. So let's get to work. And you guys have run such amazing campaigns. And you know what this is like, especially those of you in swing districts and in the rural areas. You know that some of the cases that we're going to make are maybe different than some of the message that you'll be hearing out there. I was just on the phone with Kasich, who's speaking tonight. That's going to be appealing to some of your voters, that we have a Republican governor that is taking the stage and speaking out for Joe Biden. They like to know that he has support from people like Bernie Sanders and people like John Kasich. And I think that's on all of us, no matter where we are on the spectrum in our party, to make those points. Because he has, and I was with Bernie last night on a Zoom call, maybe with some of our rivals, team of rivals from the election yesterday. We had a lot of fun, and Bernie was in great spirits, by the way. I think it's going to be really, really important for us to make that case of unity this week. And so with that, I'm going to put on my aviator glasses, go on to my next Zoom call. But thank you guys. Thanks for having me. And I can't wait. I've done your Boulder dinner and I've done your Denver dinner, and I'm going to be back soon. And I have had so much fun campaigning with your great candidates. Thanks, everybody.
Senator,
thanks, Senator.
Our state dinner. So big thank you to you for joining us this morning. Yes. I know we'll keep seeing you on the campaign trail, but a heartfelt thank you for coming in to talk to our Colorado delegation.
And thank you, Manny, for keeping the newspaper down the whole time. Really, that was I knew I was speaking too long if Manny put the newspaper up and started looking at the sports scores. And by the way, the Twins are a really good team this year, Manny. Okay, see you guys. Thank you.
Bye, Senator. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye.